Today, we have Doug Watts, Regional Channel Manager with Vonage, to discuss simple, reliable, effective business solutions. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate your time today. And as Mindy said, my name is Doug Watts. I'm with Vonage. I think I know a lot of you already. We've known each other over the years. I support the states of Kentucky, Indiana, Iowa, and Missouri, with a little sprinkling of Ohio in there as well. I've been with Vonage for roughly 18 months, um, but I've been in the telecom space for 22 years this year. So not new to the space of the channel, but new to the company. So um, want to talk a little bit about what I would say is the new Vonage. And I'm going to briefly touch on this slide. I'm not going to say much there, but then I'm going to throw out some questions to you guys. So this is what I like to call the number slide, but a couple things I will point out there. Obviously, we're a global company. You can see that. We've been around since 2001, kind of the grandfathers of the space. We started in residential, and believe it or not, still have residential customers, but we have not sold residential service in well over 10 years. Vonage saw the writing on the wall that cell phones were gonna kill that space, right? So got out of that business and is strictly focused on business to business sales. Through a lot of acquisitions, brought on our contact center practice, our API practice, which we'll talk about both of those a little more later. And then almost 2 years ago, was acquired by Ericsson. So I don't think that's something that a lot of people realize, but we are part of the Ericsson family of companies. And you'll see even in our tagline now, it says Vonage. I think it says powered by Ericsson or an Ericsson company or whatever the wording is there. So we become more and more ingrained with Ericsson every day. So to the point where our new CEO, Nicholas, was running Ericsson North America. So just came over as our CEO about 3 months ago. We are on Gartner's Magic Quadrant for UCAS and ccaas. I will note on ccaas, we're in the niche space. I'll talk about that niche and those niches here shortly. I'll also point out that a little bit of a miss on the person who did this presentation, but cpaas, Communications Platform as a Service. We are in the top right quadrant on that. Gartner just came out with that this past year for the first time. Came out with a quadrant for that. We're, I believe, second behind Twilio. And I'll talk a little more to that on the next slide. So as you look at all of our communications pillars here, we've talked about and mentioned already, and obviously it's for UCAS because we've been doing it for such a long time. We purchased ccaas practice in 2017. New Voice Media have completely enveloped that into our solution. So one tech stack for both those solutions. When I came on board 18 months ago, that was considered a differentiator for us. I think it still is, but not as much as it used to be. We have some of our competition that has decided to get into that space as well. I will only point out we've been doing it for a long time. And that middle pillar there, conversational commerce, this is something you'll hear more about from us in the, I say, next 12 months or so. We acquired a company right around the time of the Ericsson acquisition. And so we'll be talking more about how we envelop that in our products, like I said, in the next year or so. The one thing I do want to comment on is the bottom piece, because I feel like, if doing UCAS and ccaas minimizes the playing field for us and our competitors, that bottom piece and the way we do business there eliminates competitors when you look at all three, because no one is doing that business to the depth and level that we are. And so when I came on board, one of the hardest things for me was to wrap my head around what Communications Platform as a Service was, or APIs. I like to use some use cases of a couple of our customers to kind of help explain that, right? So example, if you get on a Peloton device and have a video interaction, that video network that Peloton is using for all of their interactions is the Vonage Video Network. Okay. So when Peloton invented their product and their solution, it didn't make sense for them to go out and build their own video network, right? They would come to a company like Twilio or us or some of our other competitors and say, hey, we want to use your network. And then we charge them for the usage of that network in a consumption model, right? So another example would be Uber. If you're using the Uber app and you need to call your driver, Uber doesn't want you calling on your cell phone where you guys could, get connected outside of the app. They want that interaction to stay in their app. So they utilize the Vonage voice network to terminate those calls, right? So it keeps it in a private conversation. You can exchange caller ID information and so on and so forth. If you're using the Domino's Pizza app and you've purchased a pizza from Domino's and you want to track your driver, right? The ability to track the driver in the app is using the Vonage network. The text interaction with your driver is using our SMS technology, right, and our SMS network. So think about taking voice interactions and beyond. It doesn't just end there, but in small sample size, taking voice interactions or SMS interactions or things like that, and embedding lines of code in your application so that stuff touches the Vonage network. We are the global leader in this space. Okay. Domestically, we are number 2 behind Twilio. I think that's a short-term thing, especially since Twilio, I believe, announced that they're getting out of video. I think it's video, maybe SMS, but I think it's video. We feel like we will overtake them, and in the next year or two, in that magic quadrant, we'll be in the top right. We'll be number 1. Okay, so just a little bit again about that business and how it differentiates us. So of the 4 things I'm going to key on today, I would key that as number 1. That's the number 1 pillar that makes us different than our competition, right? Obviously, we're heavily involved in artificial intelligence and what we're doing with that in the marketplace. Again, something we've been doing for a number of years. So I just want to point that out as well. So a couple of things. I mentioned that the number 1 pillar, the number 2 pillar, let's talk about. I'm going to fly through a few of these slides. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, is Microsoft integrations. So about 60 to 70% of the business I did last year personally had a Microsoft Teams integration involved in it. It's funny. I remember talking to Chris Torbett when Microsoft announced they were getting in the voice game. And I always harken back to this conversation because I think he hit the nail on the head. Is he said he felt that the people that would come out as winners would be the people that teamed best with Microsoft, not tried to compete against them, right? And while we do many of the things that Teams does, voice, team chatting in our app, and video, interactions as well, we don't try to compete with them when Teams is involved. We more so want to work hand in hand with them, right? And for a number of reasons, right? We don't feel like personally from customers we speak with that Teams is one size is kind of not a one size fits all solution. It's not, telecom's still specialized, and we kind of need to be able to do hybrid type solutions and answer meet customers where they're at with their needs. So and as you can see by this slide here, a large amount of customers haven't figured out what they're doing with their Teams integration, right? So and why would you not adopt Teams as a phone solution, right? Reliability. Teams has outages. I'm not calling them out. It's just the nature of the beast. I think on average in the last few years of once a month, if you took an average cost, it can be more expensive, generally is, and doesn't offer the full features that a lot of companies need. It can be complex to deploy, and on top of that, PSTN connectivity, generally speaking, they don't have as robust PSTN connectivity globally as us, and frankly some of our competitors too. So I'm going to move in just to talk about some ways that we integrate with Microsoft, right? Obviously Teams, I'm talking about that. we're a direct routing partner, and so when you compare us to other companies in that manner, it's really kind of apples for apples. We're all in the same boat, generally speaking, with that. We also do offer a what I would call a free Teams integration, right, where we can integrate within Teams with a Vonage app that lives inside of Teams. Nothing has to be running in the background to make that work, but it lives in Teams, and we can terminate calls uh, using Teams via that app. It also works within the mobile app as well. In addition to that, we can for direct routing customers and the quote unquote free, and I call it free because they don't have to upgrade their licensing, right? It works with E1, E3 licensing. They don't have to do any phone add-ons to make that work. So that's why I call it free. But in both of those manners, we can also, via a second app, enable SMS texting. By the end of this quarter, we'll actually be able to enable receiving faxes within the Teams environment. And long term, we're looking to also enable where you can receive what we call business inbox, where that would be where you can receive text messages like your main company number and interact with text as a channel for a very nominal fee for most small businesses, right? So we also integrate via our contact center with Microsoft Dynamics. So we have a very nice embedded integration. I'm learning, through some opportunities. I'm working with some other partners how much of a differentiator that is, and the embedded nature of what we're doing there. But we can also even build it into just basic Microsoft products, right? So like Word and PowerPoint or Excel, we can actually lay in our dial pad within those softwares as well, if needed. So the second thing I want to talk about, I'll back up, I got a little fast there. Second thing I want to talk about is Vonage Fusion. Now, Vonage Fusion is not a new product for us. It's just kind of a new marketing of some of our current products. So obviously, I mentioned we've been doing unified communications for quite some time. We've been doing contact center for quite some time. We learned from market analysts in the last year that we haven't done a good job of marketing that as a holistic solution to our customers, right? Customers know we do it, but marketing it together as a product wasn't something we were doing a great job of. So earlier this year, January, actually the beginning of the year, we productized that product as Vonage Fusion. So if a customer is receiving our UCAS platform and our contact center platform, that combined together is what we call Vonage Fusion, right? And just to give you an idea of what that looks like, obviously our Vonage business communications platform. This is our desktop app on the left-hand side here, and calling, messaging, video, all those things within that application. And then on the right-hand side, our Vonage contact center, right? And you can kind of get an idea of what the dial pad looks like there. But with our Vonage Fusion integration of those two, as you can see, we built the dial pad for the contact center as a slide out bar into our Vonage business communications desktop app. So all those customers can live in one cohesive environment there, be it back end or contact center, and just make for a little bit of an easier use case, right? So talking about integrations, obviously there's multiple things from a contact center that we can integrate with. I'll touch on Salesforce here. I'm going to talk about it more in just a second. We are the number one integration with Salesforce from a contact center perspective. That is based on Salesforce saying that. That's based on reviews in the App Exchange, which is Salesforce's kind of app store. If you go to the App Exchange, you'll see that we are 4.92 stars, and we have over 950 reviews. I think we're actually up to 970. Our closest competitor has 699, and they have not had a single review in over a year. So you'll not find anyone that has more reviews. You'll not find anyone that has as many reviews with a higher star rating. It's hard to get much higher than 4.92, right? But some of our competitors, big names, you'd be surprised if you look in there, have less than 100 reviews. So we work cohesively with Salesforce. So when we're engaged in a Salesforce opportunity, we can pull Salesforce into the conversation too, and they'll back us up and help you and us sell the solution to the customer. We also embed deeply within Zendesk, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and ServiceNow. And then from a VBC or our UC platform, obviously you can see some of the same integrations here as well. We integrate with Slack. There's many more. This just covers some of the more key integrations, but yeah. And then I added this slide too, just because it adds some of the other integrations as well. I do want to point out a couple of things where we talk about Epic and Jack Henry there at the bottom in Cerner. Those obviously are in the EHR EMR space and or finance. We do have some integrations with almost they can get us into almost any EHR EMR as well as almost any fintech software. So please keep us in mind for those opportunities. We've got some good use cases for that. I've actually in my 18 months here, I've sold one hospital and I'm working with another one right now. So that's a space that we're playing very favorably in. And last but not least, I'll talk about Vonage Premier Service Cloud Voice. I'm going to go through this very quickly to give ourselves some time for some questions here at the end. But Vonage Premier for Service Cloud Voice just speaks to us utilizing Salesforce's Service Cloud Voice infrastructure. So we've been a partner, as I mentioned, with Salesforce for a number of years, connecting in with them via their CTI integration, which is pretty standard integration path for most companies with Salesforce or just any software, right? Salesforce changed the game a few years ago and said that they were switching their integration with partners like us to what they refer to as Service Cloud Voice. So what Service Cloud Voice gives their customers is ability to take advantage of a lot of the things that they're doing with AI, right? And so it's all built into a single pane of glass. It gives the ability to take advantage of real-time transcription, knowledge lookups, next best action. Again, living all in one pane of glass within the Salesforce ecosystem, right? We're not the only company that's doing connectivity via Service Cloud Voice. Amazon was actually the first company that did that because Salesforce, believe it or not, gave them access to get a year's head start. So we at a year's head start against us and everybody, right? So I will tell you that even with the year's head start, we're still ranked #1 by Salesforce as the company that meets all their current needs and also meets all their with our roadmap meets all their future needs, right? So we're still arguably the #1 provider for that service. And I mentioned the 4.9 star rating. This needs to be updated because it's got 867 reviews. Last time I checked, I think it was 971. It may even be closer to that. We're going to throw a big party when we cross the 1,000 threshold there. So that's coming soon. I'll obviously mention the ability to do UCAS and ccaas and our communications APIs is a little bit of a differentiator as well. And then we can work in a hybrid model. So, we can have users that still use telephones in that model if need be. And this kind of gives you just a graphical representation of the customer journey for Service Cloud Voice. It kind of shows you where we live there at the bottom, the top, the Salesforce pieces where they live, and then the connection of the two in the middle. And then also mention some of our other partners that we bring in for, workforce management, PCI compliance, and things of that nature. So customer stories, I'm not going to turn on this video. I will share this video out. If you go to YouTube and search for Vonage Anatomy of a Deal, you'll see a lot of these videos. These are videos with partners, okay? Videos with partners like yourself talking about solutions that we've provided for their customers. Very well done videos. I think they're generally about 6 to 7 minutes long. They kind of cover the whole sales cycle, implementation, and kind of future state for the customers that are being discussed. So let's talk a little bit about promotions. Pay no attention to the date on this. I was trying to get this changed before the presentation, and I couldn't figure out how I cut and pasted this before from my promotions PDF. The PDFs of our current promotions are loaded or should be loaded for you guys to access. And if you have questions about that, let me know and I'll make sure you get them. But our Q2 2024 partner split promotion is the same as this. 6x MRR on any opportunity that's 3 years and up, 3x MRR down. And I actually got approved last week for you guys for TDM Claris and all the other companies involved here, that you can actually get an additional 1x on top of this for any opportunities that we sell this quarter, right? So before June 30th. So yeah, have an extra X to both of those. So it'd be 7 and 4X. And again, that runs through the end of June. But that's not the only way you can make money with us. Just for bringing an opportunity to us and allowing us to our sales teams to demo for your customers, you can receive a gift card valued anywhere between $150 up to $1,000. You can kind of see the criteria here. To double that, right? If we talk about a couple of our integrations or a ccaas opportunity, we can double this gift card. So there's a base that starts at $500 in monthly recurring revenue. So a deal does have to be at least that size. But listen, I love giving these gift cards out. We give these gift cards out whether we win or lose the deal. Okay, we give them out after the demo. So I think within 24 hours you have a gift card in your email in your inbox about your gift card, based on, again, the size of the opportunity and solution we're talking about. And then not just that, there's a third way you can get paid with us. Props for proposals. So any opportunity that is over $1,000 that we have demoed for a customer and that we have done a valid proposal, not just a budgetary number, an actual proposal in our system that paperwork the customer can sign off on. We will pay you 0.25 MRR bonus on that. So example, $1,000 opportunity that we get to that point, you would receive a $250 spiff, again, whether that deal closes or not. Okay, I'll give you an example of that. A use case with a hospital opportunity I mentioned that I had sold last year. That partner got a very nice spiff check based on the props for proposals. He called me and asked me if it was a mistake because we hadn't closed the deal yet. We felt like we were going to, but it wasn't done. He asked me if it was a error, and I had to remind him of this. To which he was ecstatic to receive a very sizable, very sizable spiff check before we ever closed the deal, and frankly, if we ever close the deal. So that is the end of my presentation. Obviously, happy to take questions now. We can go into any of those conversations and any of those pillars I talked about in a much deeper conversation if we need to. But hopefully, this gives you an idea of where we play in the ucaas, ccaas, cpaas space.
Actually, our first question, Doug, is please reiterate the 4 key differentiators for the team.
I will absolutely do that. Number one would be our cpaas product set. There's no one in our space that has the depth and breadth of that. Secondly, would be our Teams integration. The fact that we can integrate not only via direct routing, but we can integrate via with Teams via I'd say free. I call it free because you don't have to upgrade your licensing with it within Teams. Third would be our Vonage Fusion platform. And then fourth would be our Salesforce, specifically our Salesforce integration. I'll say integrations in general, but specifically Salesforce, just because we're the leader in that space.
Okay, and our second question is, how are your agents getting in front of new customers, and what do you see working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Some things that I've done with partners that I'm starting to pay dividends, and I say starting because we've only been doing them for the last few months, was really, I'll use an example of a partner I have that they have a prospect list they're going after, right? I've got some tools at my disposal that can help, find contact information and or help see if that customer is maybe more or less interested in the type of products that we sell. Doesn't mean that they're not interested in other products, right? That you may sell as well. But we've been using that and working hand in hand to kind of, define some customers that make sense to go after, and starting to bear some fruit. So that's one way I've personally been working with a few partners of mine to drive some opportunities to both of us. Hope that answers the question and helps.
Oh, yeah. And the last question we got is, what features other than price are winning deals?
Yeah, I would say, and frankly, I know this sounds kind of cliche to say, we have to sell on price. We do sometimes, and I think the comment in that question kind of alludes to that, right? I really feel like what differentiates us is the fact that, while we are competitive price wise, we have to be. Um, we offer a great implementation path and great support after the fact that is US based, minus some of our very, very small customers we would refer to as micro customers. And so based on that, as we're talking to customers, we really try to sell on solution and not price. Now we do have to get there, but really, I think selling companies on Vonage and us as individuals, and the things we're doing from an implementation and support perspective, I really think is what the deals I've been involved with, and I stay close to some of our larger deals, and try to stay involved as many as I can. But I really think that's what's setting us apart, right? I don't think we're always the cheapest in that regard. I don't think as a partner you want us to be the cheapest all the time, right? Because that just takes money out of your pocket too, right? But I think we offer a very competitive product set from a price perspective, but we're able to, the sales process and how we deliver what we do really sets us apart.